Today we're going to talk about starting a business. What does it really take to start a business? So a quick note myself, I'll make this quick, with a nonprofit score, business mentor, and a shop mentor. So I'm a professional, unpaid professional. Previously, I started to manage a lot of small businesses. In fact, when I was a young man, my mom used to ask me why I couldn't keep a job and why I had jobs. And if I had known then what to say, I would have said something like, I'm preparing myself for later in my life where I worked with small businesses. Well, a number of things. Started in the restaurant industry, did a number of different, including technology field. In 1985, somebody showed me a computer. And I saw that personal computer and I knew immediately what was going to happen. I all have a small one. We'd carry this wherever we went, and we'd be share pictures of our cats on them. So I was about that. Anyway, along the line, I've done a lot of things in markets and online businesses. A quick introduction to SCORE, if you're unfamiliar with this, we're a national nonprofit with over 300 chapters across the U.S., over 12,000 volunteers, and over. We have 17 locations in the state of Washington, and you can look at that list there on the link. And what we do is we provide a number of services to help small businesses. Our mentoring service. Now, this is a free mentoring service, one-on-one mentoring service, fairly no cost. And what we do is we have experienced business professionals that are there to advise and educate and encourage you to either start a business, help do that, or a business to help you run it even better. So a number of our chapters have online workshops. And in fact, note all our mentoring is online too. So if there isn't a SCORE near you, it doesn't matter. You can just call one of our SCORE and they'll again set up an online mentoring session. And we have a website, the SCORE website. A lot of great. Okay, it's some with the and I'll pause for just a second. We have a great web, a lot of resources, a template, a lot of online training materials. Here's our agenda. What we're going to do is talk about good reasons to start a business. We'll also talk about what it takes to start. We'll talk about a 3 business planning process, and then we'll have a little at the end when we talk about a thing called the unique value. On issue will clear up there on the for that. Let's take a look at some reasons to start a business. Maybe some of you had these. I know I've asked one, right? My job. Friend wants to start a business. That time it worked. One time it went terribly, terribly wrong. I was late if that happens. I understand that. Want to work less. And I want to say, okay, yeah, those are, what I'm going to say is those are probably reasons to start a business. That means you're kind of leaving something and you're looking for something to do. I would say these are probably a little bit reasons to start a business, which is I want to work for myself. I want to, a lot of people do that. Talk to a lot of people at SCORE who want to start a business on their own and work for themselves. That makes sense. I want to create or fix something. Maybe they've got a great idea. Maybe they want to start doing something. Um, or maybe they have some desire, something better. That's great. I want to do what I love. That's a very popular reason. And I'm passionate about my product or service. Okay, sorry about that issue associated with the audio. I'm going to slow down for a second while the team works on that. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Well, a couple things that are very, very important if you are considering starting a small business is that number one, are you persistent? Persistence is a really, really important aspect of starting a business. There's an old saying, I guess, as Edison said, this genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So you need to be persistent. Are you a risk taker? Yeah. You have to be able to take some risks. Not only will you be risking your time, but you'll maybe risking your own financial resources and maybe other people's too. So opening a business is inherently risky, and we'll talk more about that as we go. Are you disciplined? Do you have a work ethic? Are you ready to put the time in and work hard on your business? Are you competitive? Do you want to succeed? Because competition makes you serve your customers better, because really what you have to do is, in many cases, you're going to be in a very competitive environment and you have to do something better than your competitor. So your competition is going to make to serve your will make you serve your customer better, and it also makes your business better if you see. And can you listen? Okay, because listening makes you a better manager if you're going to manage people. It makes your product and services better if you listen to your customers. So it's really important. And then another aspect of it is, can you ask for help? And asking for help is really valuable. To go out and to be able to maybe get a mentor, and there's a lot of places you can get mentors. Maybe there's a local person you can ask for help from, or at least have someone to talk to. But always getting other people's opinions, always listening to other people. It's a great way to make your business better. I'll pause right now. Okay, so evidently it sounds a little bit better. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. But for you, some that are thinking of starting a small business, you're not alone. Actually, there's a lot of businesses in the U.S. Of the 20 and of the 28 million businesses in the U.S., 22 million of those businesses are one-person businesses. Now, when I started mentoring 3-4 years ago, I had it would amaze me the number of one-person businesses that people were starting. So if you think if you're starting a one-person business and you think you're out there alone, you're not. There's a lot of people out there that are starting the same one-person, same sort of business as you are. What's interesting that according to the SBA, again, there are over 600,000 new businesses every year. Now, here is what we call our tough love slide, which is opening a business is pretty risky, right? Over 30% of new businesses fail in the first 2 years, and 50%, up to 50% in 5 years. So opening business is very risky. And then the question is what does it take to open a small business and manage the risk of failure? Well, it takes one thing and one thing only: planning. Planning. Now, in the old days, in new days, we used to say, you got to have a business plan. Where's your business plan? I want to see your business plan. And what would happen is that if you looked at a business plan, a fully completed formal business plan, it seems like it's a very intimidating and very daunting prospect to have to go through and fill that out. And so what we've done is we've changed the focus away from creating this thing called a business plan, actually to do planning, because planning is really important and that's how you manage risk. And the truth is everybody knows how to do planning, right? You plan vacation. You used to plan vacations. You plan weddings, you plan weekends, you plan dinners. So everybody's familiar with planning. And that's why we think all businesses, to manage the risk to start up, when they're starting up, should do a good bit of planning. Now, we actually have a three-phase planning process. And it kind of works like this. What we do is we want to start everybody off at the very beginning with a quick plan. Now, this is based on a thing called Lean Canvas. Many of you are probably familiar with it, okay? But it's really a quick and easy way to start thinking about your idea more as a product in a business. Now, once you're done with that, then we have a process we're going to call detailed planning. This is where we take our small business essentials task list, and we'll talk about that in a second, and we go through it and we check off these different things, these planning activities and decisions we want you to make. Then in some cases, you'll go to and create a formal business plan. This is one of those big old bad formal business plans. Now, that's not required by everybody, but and we'll talk about those instances when you do need it. So when we talk about quick planning, what we do is we use, again, this thing called a Lean Canvas. Now you can go out to the internet and you can get copies of this, and I've included one in the next slide for you. But this Lean Canvas is really 9 questions. I'm not going to say simple questions, but 9 questions about your product and service. And it helps you start, again, thinking about your product and service, because what happens is when we meet with people all the time is they always have a great idea and maybe they've got a little bit of that product or service figured out. But what you want to do is you want to go from idea to a fully formed product or service to finally thinking about it as a business. And that's what this does, the Lean Canvas, the first thing, okay? What we do is a intermediate step when we fill out the Lean Canvas is we take 3 questions. We focus on 3 questions first. We call it a unique value statement. And we do that first, and we're going to talk more about that coming up. But anyway, this provides you really a good, solid starting point to move on and do more detailed planning. Now, I will mention one thing is that later today, my peer, Rebecca West, is going through the Lean Canvas in a session from 1 to 2 called Quick Business Plan. She does just an absolute terrific job. I recommend that session. I know there's a lot of great sessions. You gotta choose, but if you are starting a business, you know, it's a great one to get started with. So here's the Lean Canvas. As I mentioned before, it's really about 9 questions. I'm not going to spend much time on it. I just want you to have it. But you'll notice there's on the left, there's some product aspects of things you need to think about. And on the right, there's more about the market and the customers and that. And again, this is again the absolute great way to start working with your business plan. Now, as I mentioned, once you're done with the Lean Canvas and you've done your quick planning, we want you to do more detailed planning. Now, this list here, this is the Small Business Essentials task list. Now, this task list is a list of about 20 things that we recommend you do. And if you do that, you'll go a long way to managing the risk when you start your business. Okay. Now, this list is available to you. In fact, it's with the materials on the website. So if you go over to the BizFair website, when you're logged in there, there's a couple files you can download. One is all the slides you're seeing here in a PDF format. And the other one is this Small Business Essentials task list, also in a PDF. So, you know, take those and download those, keep those on your computers, use those as your reference. Now, you'll notice we're going to go through this in a little more detail, but the very first part of this Small Business Essentials task list is again the Lean Canvas. That's where we start. And a quick question: someone says, "Is that an app, or is it a document?" It's actually both. What happens is you can just download, if you just go Lean Canvas into your favorite search engine, like mine is Bing.com. You've all heard of Bing, right? You'll find, you'll get a dozen copies of it. There are also some websites out there that you can do a little Q&A, and then it will help write it for you. So either way it works, but it's a great exercise. So let's continue on in the small business essentials task list. Please download it. Now, the first section here is after, I should say the second section, after basic planning, is a section we call creating a business structure. This is where you're kind of at the beginning of your business. You want to make sure you get it set up right legally and all that stuff. And so these are the things you're going to think about doing in this section, right? Number one, you want to choose your business entity. Okay. Now, business entity, when we talk about business entity, this is like, are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC, a partnership, a corporation? What are you? And you have to choose that. And in some cases, you have to register then with the state. Now, I'm going to give you the answer to the quiz at the end. Okay. The answer is, we recommend for, I should say, in most small businesses, right? We think getting an LLC is a great idea. An LLC is a limited liability company. You register with the state. It costs $200 to register and $70 each, about $70 each year to renew it. Now, the LLC, what it does is it allows you to keep your finance and liability, the business, separate from your personal liability. So, for instance, if you had a business and somehow things went wrong and it generated a bunch of debt. Now, if that's a sole proprietorship, there's no difference between the sole proprietorship and you, the owner of it. In the case of the LLC, there is a difference, and then you collect your personal assets from issues associated with the business in many cases. So that's a quick one. Okay, so what you do is you get to your business entity. Now, are you ready to start going into business? Well, it's going to business when you start having revenue, okay? You need a state business license, right? So you got to get that state business license. It's only $19. But for your $19, you know what you get? You get quarterly tax returns, and so you start paying your sales tax, and then also your B&O tax as on a regular basis. You may also need to get a local business license and pay for that, and there might be local taxes depending where you are. So you get your licensing done, then you better make sure, well, there's time to get some insurance too. You want to get some insurance to protect your business and yourself, again, yourself, from any sort of liability. And there's a lot of different small business plans out there. There are things called BOPs, business owner packages. You always want general liability, but then there's other insurances you may want. Also, if you're working from home, you have a business from home, you should really consider looking into insurance and getting insured there, especially if you have people coming over and you're storing equipment or whatever it is at your house. So there's a good opportunity there to really evaluate what sort of business insurance license you need. And also what you want to do is you want to start thinking about early. Early, you want to start thinking about if you are going to need some funding from a lender, right? You should start thinking about it early, because to secure funding is always a long process, always a complex process. So you really want to start thinking about that early. The first thing you want to do is get your FICO score and your credit record, because as it turns out, nobody will lend you business money if you have, if you have had difficulties in your own personal credit history. So you want to get that figured out early on. That's the things associated with the business structure. But when you're done with that stuff, what you want to do is you want to start working on your marketing plan, right? So when you talk about your marketing plan, first thing you do is make sure you have solid product and service descriptions. Now, these descriptions, maybe they're used if you're going to, have a product manufactured, or they'll be used, in your marketing later on down the road. But you want to make sure that you have that information, and you finalize your product and services. Decide on your packaging, pricing, and the distribution of your products. The one there that is so important is your pricing. We teach marketing in 2 different courses in SCORE Seattle. And the second one is almost all pricing. Pricing is so important. In fact, when you go and if you get money from a lender to start your business, man, they're going to focus in right on pricing. Why did you choose that price? What are your competitors' price? Did you think about raising your price? What would happen if you lowered your price? Those sorts of things. So you really want to be ready to have that conversation, because not only is it important if you're going to get funding, but it's really important just in the perspective of if you're going to make any money or not. Okay. So once you've done those sorts of things, you want to make sure you define your target market. Who's your best customers? What are their attributes? How are they similar? Because you're going to want to be able to know who they are, because you have to be able to find a way to get the message out of your product to your target market. Okay. Now, as part of the marketing, what you're doing is you're writing your marketing message, what's your value prop and your benefits and features and all this sorts of stuff. That stuff's going to go on any sales materials you might have, but also very importantly, all on your website too. So, and then finally get that promotional plan to get your business launched and going. And then, it's always great. Everybody wants a website, kind of almost need one these days. You want to create a plan for that. So there's kind of your marketing stuff. And that's an important phase 2 of detailed planning. But let's talk about phase 3, the financial plan. I've found, and I'll circle back to the questions here in just a second. I've found that the thing I put off to the end or don't want to do is probably the most important thing to do. And your financial plan is sometimes like that. Because what you're going to do when you start up a new business is your first thing you got to do is start up your calculate your startup costs. What are the things you have to pay for before you get any revenue, right? That might be equipment, maybe there's some rent, maybe it's buying materials or inventory, setting up your accounting system, whatever it is. So there's always going to be some costs associated with that. And you're going to have to figure that out and figure out how you're going to fund that. Now, next thing you got to do is project your sales for the first year of business. And this is really hard. Okay. This is really hard. First thing you need to project your sales, of course, is the pricing for your product or services. And then you can talk about projecting your sales. Now, once you project your sales, then you can figure out your costs and create a projected profit and loss statement or a P&L for the first year of business. Okay. What happens is it's not uncommon to lose money your first few months or even a little bit longer when you start a new business. And for that reason, what you want to do is create a cash flow statement. Right? Create that cash flow statement and really tell you how much extra money you will need, how much cash cushion will you need to keep your business in business until you start making a profit. There are many instances where great ideas and hardworking run out of cash, couldn't make the rent, get employees, and they went out of business, even though they would have ended up as a success had they had a little cash cushion. And that cash cushion, we kind of call that working capital too. But when you figure out startup costs, you have kind of the basic hard costs of equipment and stuff, and then you should have working capital added in there to make sure you can get over those issues. And then finally, it's always smart to make sure you understand your accounting and tax payments, right? Coming up. Well, I've been in that situation where it's like, hey, open a business, we're making money until taxes are due. And then it's, well, where's the money? It's, it's very deceptive, So when you start a new business, if you got to be thinking about putting 25% aside for taxes of your profit. So it can catch up with, it can sneak up on you if you're not watching. So anyway, that's our SCORE's Small Business Essentials task list. Okay. Again, this is up at the website or the Biz Fair website. You can download it. And again, it's just a plan, a check-by-check plan to get you through to do those things that are going to help you manage the risk when you start. And the one thing I want to mention too is about the financial plan. I neglected to mention this, is that you really got to do that. Because what happens is that as you start your business and you think about your product and your service, and you think of your pricing and your packaging, or maybe how you delivery costs, and you start doing all these things, they might make sense, but then you have to put in a financial projection. And a financial projection is where it kind of gives you the final feedback on if you got a good project, a good business to start or not. It's kind of like all these decisions about your business get distilled down into a single number, and that tells you if potentially you'll be successful or not. I always say that there's two types of successful businesses, right? The first type of successful business is the one that launches and is successful. That's the wax on one, right? The other business that's successful, wax off, is the one that you go through the planning process and you figure out is not ready to launch. That that you have to make changes. You have to maybe get a different idea, but the original envisioned product or service, the business you wanted to start it, is not going to be able to make money. So you don't launch it. That's a success too, right? Because nobody wants you to launch a business and lose a bunch of money and lose somebody else's money, some family money or your retirement account or your car or anything like that, right? So be successful or figure out, have a good plan that will hopefully get you on the side of success, or really do your planning and figure out if that idea is ready to go or not. Now, that was phase 2. This is phase 3. There are some cases where you will need to create one of these formal business plans. Now, a formal business plan is one of these documents, you may have seen one, where it's all written out and it's got charts and graphs, and it reads like a book or a novel. Okay. Now, we have a fabulous template there. You can get it up at the SCORE site. You just download it. It's a big Microsoft Word doc. It's 34 pages that you would then go in and then add your information to. It is a super detailed document. You probably only need about half of it or a third of it even, depending upon it, but it kind of has to cover all businesses, so it's a bit big for that reason. But it's an example of how you would organize all the information. Well, by the way, all the information you just did and detailed, you'd bring it in there. And then there's some additional stuff you would need to do. And this is really for more complex businesses. Now, I will also mention too, is that many of the your local libraries, if they have an online website, they have access to a thing called the Business Plans Handbook. So you can go up to the, I know over here in the Seattle area, in the different counties around here, you go up to the website, see the Business Plans Handbook, you type in restaurant, you type in jewelry store, or you type in, home organizer, and you'll see a number of different actual business plans that people have created and submitted to that. So really good resource to start thinking about. And there's gobs of books and lots of other resources to do this. So you say, Chuck, man, that's a lot of planning. You got your quick planning, you get your detailed planning, and your formal business plan. When do you do these things? Well, let's talk about it. We think that in the case of lean canvas, the quick planning, all businesses should do that. Okay. Now, if you're just going to sell a few things on eBay and you got a full-time job, maybe you don't have a lot of risk. Maybe you don't have to do a lot of planning. Okay, I get that. But if you're going to, invest your time, your sweat, and your money, more planning the better. So, from our perspective, lean canvas, yes. Detailed planning, yeah. That detailed planning is going to really help you out. Again, it'll manage your risk, but it'll just make you that much better when you launch your business. Now, in the case of a formal business plan, that big old bad business plan, when do you need that? Well, you're going to need that if you're going to, if you need to get funding from a lender. So if you want to go to a bank or some other professional lender, they're going to say, hey, I want to see your business plan. Absolutely required. The same thing in the case of, a lot of times if you want to get a business lease, you want to get a building or something, big lease, something like that, they'll want to see that. In the case if you have employees or a complex product or business, you probably want to do it too. There's more things related to employees as part of the formal business plan. So there are a number of situations when you need that. But let's get you into the detailed planning. Number one, And then if you need to go to that next phase as far as formal planning, it's there and available. Now, the one thing I will say that again is that when you do this planning, it's great to have people to help you and and give you feedback. Okay. So what we recommend in the case of SCORE, and here's our different locations throughout the state of Washington. And in the case of Washington, again, we're all online, we're all Zoom, so you don't have to be within driving distance of any of these places. Whichever one's closer, go to their website, call them up, and someone will be there to talk to you. What we always say is that, hey, go do one of these sections, write it down, make a bunch of notes, some bullet points, and then meet with your mentor, right? Because the mentor has business experience. It has probably experience in the local market. Maybe it might be even experience in the different type of business you're doing, but they're the ones that then can give you great feedback. But if you don't have a mentor, maybe there's a local business professional that you can bounce ideas off, you can talk to. But again, the same idea is do a little work, get some feedback, do a little more work, get some feedback. And I think that what will happen is not only will the end result be a lot better, but it'll actually be a lot funner. So with that, let me jump over to a few questions. We're going to do one more section after this. Okay. Oh, someone said, when you create your first LLC, be prepared you may be a target of scam artists. Yeah, that's a great art. That's a great, is that, who said that, Kate? Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you said that. It's one of the things we talk about in the extended version is that, if you just say, you go out to your favorite search engine and you go type in LLC, Washington State, the first dozen things you will see, right, are services who want to do it for you and charge a lot of money. Now, an LLC, you can do it yourself, but you got to make sure that you go to the wa.gov website to do that. If it doesn't say wa.gov on the internet address that you're searching on, it's probably a service and they're going to charge you for it. Now, if you're uncomfortable with it, there are services that will do it, right? And that's fine, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's a good one. The other thing too is just a quick note is that if you are going to get a domain name that is the same as your company name, all right, what you want to do is buy the domain name first and then get the company name as part of either your business license or your setting up your entity. Because what will happen is that if you set up your name first through the Washington State site, it becomes public information. And it's been known that there are domain squatters will then go grab the domain name. And then when you go get the domain name, they'll have it. And they'll say, well, you've got to pay me a whole bunch of money for it. So if you're ready, domain name first, then Washington State entity and business license afterwards. Okay, good comment, good comments. Is there a good source to find partners and investors? Boy, that's a great question. I don't know offhand. Yeah, well, so first thing I would do is that in the case of investors, I will say this, is that they're on the SBA.gov site, they have a tool which is find a local lender. So what happens is a lot of the local banks and financial institutions that participate in the SBA loan guarantee programs, they're all up on the SBA site. And if you just go up to the SBA site and you type in location, the type of business, so on and so forth, it'll give you a list of 3 or 4 different lenders in your area, business lenders that would be potential for you. Other than that, what you do is maybe talk to, local, there are, maybe talk to your local mentor. You might have some good leads for you. What does it take to add a person to a PLLC? So, or as a new co-owner? A quick note is I talked a lot about the LLC. There's a special version of the PLLC called professional LLC, which is for like architects and dentists. If you need a professional license to deliver your service, then you need a PLLC rather than LLC. They're easy to set up. It's just a checkbox, and it's the same online setup that you do it. In the case of adding people, it's really just a process to go up to the website and add a new member. Okay. Well, okay, those are great questions. So good. Any more coming? I'm going to go to the next section here. We got one more little section I want to have some fun with. This is how I have fun. If that doesn't scare you, nothing does. But yeah, you could throw in some more questions and we'll go from there at the end. Okay. If you're thinking of starting your business, I want you to try this. This is what we call our unique value statement. Again, this is just 3 questions that come from the lean canvas. So if you do this first, then you do your lean canvas, you only get 6 more questions to go. But this is in a nutshell, kind of what your business is going to be. So what we want to do is create a single sentence combining info, the info. Okay. The statement goes like this: my product or service is this. This is a factual description of service. I will sell it to this. This is who your customers are. And it provides them the unique value of something. Okay. So let's take a little more look at this. Now, this first part, remember I said the first thing we're going to ask you to write down is a factual description of your product or service in 15 words or less. Now, we all know what products and services are, but what happens is there's some people who have like jewelry stores or maybe some fashion stores, things like that, where it's not just a single product, it's a collection. But in any case, that's their product, right? Or service, yes. So you describe your product or service or collection in 15 words or less. Now you focus on what your business will be doing at the beginning. Not, I know a lot of times when we take people through this, they've got 19 ideas, and that's great. We love that. But the fact is that when you start your business, we always want to focus. Find your best ideas and focus down on that. And that's why we want you to limit it to 15 words. Because what happens is when you only use 15 words, you have to be very careful about those words, right? And then it helps you really focus your business at the very beginning. So my product or service is this. And I sell it to these people or businesses. This is what we call your customer description, right? And you want to be specific on this. Who are your best customers? So in this case, it's like it's not. I sell my sports products to consumers. Well, no, you sell them to maybe parents with kids that play soccer in the Seattle area. Now that's a target market, right? Because we have some behavioral things, some personal preferences, and we have a location in there. So now we're really kind of identifying our best customers. Okay. Maybe you do business to business. So it's not just every business. It's not just dentists, right? It's orthodontists in King County, something like that. Maybe some special product. Because what we want to do is we want to find a way to group our customers, our best potential customers together, because we want to use that then to promote our business or service to them. Really, when we go into the marketing sections of your plan, this really turns into your target market. But it's good at the very beginning to take a try at this. So we've talked about what our product or service is. We've talked about what our customers are. And now we got to talk about what our unique value is. Yes, we want to have our value, the value we provide to the customers for our product or service collection. We want it to be unique and unique in the market, right? And the way we describe this is through this idea of benefits. We say you always need 3 benefits. Not anymore, but no less, right? And benefits are an expression of what the customer receives from your product based in their words. And it's always expressed in some sort of gain or loss, right? It's not what they buy, it's what they receive. Now, if you ever want to see the most fantastic example of how this is done, go out to the internet and search on Mad Men Carousel Pitch. And you'll find a YouTube video on this. And it's just really makes you understand the idea of the benefits versus the features. And here's some examples too. So if somebody buys a high efficiency household electric space heater, right? That's what they get. They get a box, plug it in. Okay, that's great. What benefits do they receive? Well, it keeps them warm and comfortable. Okay, that's up, right? Benefits are expressing gains or losses. And then it saves them money. That's down. Okay, less money, right? Or if it's a security camera, right? Get a little box of the security camera, they put it outside. What does it do? Well, what do I get as a benefit? Well, I get safety. I get improved safety. Improved is up, and improves peace of mind. Okay. Another one is massage. What do you get? Well, it lowers my stress. That's great. That's down. Feels great. That's up. And improves my health. That's up too. So these are all examples of how you would describe your unique value, uh, not in features, but in actual benefits. Now, we think this unique value statement is really, really important because it encourages you to think how to make your product service collection unique some way in your market, right? Because you don't want to be a me too. You don't want to come out of the gate being a direct copy of somebody else because they got the customers, you don't. If you're just a copy, okay, and just a little bit cheaper, does not count as unique value, right? You'll never get the customers away, or you'll never get customers, right? So I always think about how you're going to be somehow unique in your market, how that you can appeal to customers. Now, what happens is once you do the statement, especially at the beginning of your business building process, you suddenly have a really great short way to describe your business, right? People say, well, what are you going to do? What do you want to do? What's your business going to do? Well, I sell these things. I sell them to these guys, and they love it because of this. Okay. And so that's, this will actually turn into your value prop part of it farther down in the marketing world, but it's a real great way to quickly describe. I don't like calling it an elevator pitch. Quickly describe what you're going to do. Now, and I always say that you want to use 15 words or less, right? Because again, what happens is you put words in and take words out, you rescope and you change your business. So you really want to be careful about those words and be very thoughtful when you put this together. And it may take you more than one try. It may take you a whole bunch of tries, and that's okay because that helps you think about your business, right? Analyze your business, think about it, okay? It really helps you to define the scope and focus when you go forward. Now, whoops. Here's a couple examples. This is a guy named The Dude, and he's got some fictitious business. We use him in some of our training classes and our workshops. And one of them is the Dude's, a cowboy chili parlor and old time saloon on the left here. What does he sell to? Families, okay, in the city of Bothell who are Tex-Mex fans and dine out regularly. So we've got families, that's kind of a demographic thing, city, that's a geographic thing, and then some behavioral aspects of this target market. And what's the unique value of the Dude's chili parlor? Easily accessed. It could be in downtown Bothell, we'll say. This is made up, by the way. Don't go to Bothell. Don't drive to Bothell looking for the Dudes. Easily accessed, value-priced family dining. Now, value-priced family dining says a couple things. Value-priced, right? It's kind of a lower price. Family dining, that means there's a kids menu for the kids, and then a full bar for the adults, and then a fun cowboy experience. Everybody gets to wear a hat. Okay, so that's one. And then the one on the right is our service example. This is the Dude's School of Riding and Roping. This is one-on-one training on your horse at your stable. So the Dude drives around and teaches people how to ride horses. Okay, now people, who does he sell it to? People who own and ride horses within 25 miles of Bothell. Again, he's got to drive around, so he can't drive around everywhere, right? And then what is the unique value? Now they buy training lessons, like an hour, 2-hour training lessons. That's what you buy from the Dude. But what do you get? I get increased rider confidence and safety, and by improving their riding skills on their own horse. So again, the difference between what you buy and true benefit is, because this is about confidence and safety. So here we go. This is your homework. Please, if you're starting your business, really highly recommend this, So my product or service is this, get 15 words or less. And I will sell it to these people or these businesses. And it will and they're going to love it because of this. Now, this is a great exercise to do. If you're starting a business, I think it's a fabulous opportunity to get feedback. So write this up and share it with people. Again, the thing about it is that when you ask people for help, they're really flattered. It's like, oh, you wanted my help? Sure, it's okay, sure, And so don't be shy. Get people's opinion. And like I say, if you want a mentor, go up to the SCORE website, fill out a form. We have a little form there. And then you can either call the local, call your local SCORE site. There's other groups too, other fabulous groups that are participating here that do mentoring. They're great too. There's a lot of great people in this area. But if you do want to get a mentor from SCORE, you just go up to the website, you fill out a little form, and what happens is one of our coordinators will kind of match up you with, your needs with the availability of different mentors, and they'll contact you. And again, we're doing it all online. It's all Zoom now. Everybody's doing Zoom, so don't be shy. Don't be shy. So again, download the resources that come with us. Okay, the PowerPoint I just went through. Also, the Small Business Essentials task list. And I'll leave this up for all these great resources. So let's see what we got for questions. Okay, I'm done with the presentation. So if y'all have some questions, feel free to put them in. How do you go about picking a mentor? Well, there's actually two ways. If you go up to the SCORE website, there's a little box where you say find a mentor. You can put your zip code in there, and then if there are mentors that serve that area, you can see their profiles, and then you can say, hey, I want to contact that person. Or you can just leave your information. I guess you got to leave your information either way. You can leave your information with the local area, and then they'll try to do a matching. So it's pretty easy. Just start at the website. Is there a situation when you recommend a sole proprietorship over an LLC? Oh, good question. Or a great question. Yeah. Our kind of default is the LLC because of the personal liability. The reality is that if you get a business license and you just start doing business, right? You're a sole proprietorship. It's you don't apply to be a sole proprietor or a partnership. It is just stamped on you in a sense by the taxing authorities. So what happens is that in the case of a sole proprietor, the reality is that most businesses are sole proprietors. LLCs have only been around, depending upon the state, 20, 30 years. So they're actually kind of new. The thing about the sole proprietor is that you have liability. We have one of our mentors at SCORE and also teaches class is an attorney, Guy Tull, and he says essentially that if your product or service touches a customer or a customer's property, especially a customer's pet, you should really be an LLC. Because what happens is that, when things go wrong, the lawsuits fly. Nobody's shy about that anymore. And what would happen is that if you're sole proprietorship, that lawsuit against your sole proprietorship is the same as the lawsuit against you personally. So from the perspective of protecting your assets, right? You have the LLC, but also insurance. The two combinations is really great. One is not as good as two. And, of course, again, if you have a small part-time business and you ship things out and maybe not a lot of business in that, maybe you don't need an LLC. But again, if you're delivering a local service, some sort of product, and something could fall down, break down, burn down, whatever it is, yeah, you want to make sure you're an LLC and you got insurance. Okay, let me check here. What is the best way to know whether someone has the same business name that you want to use in your new business? Ooh, that's a good question. So from the perspective of, we have a little more detailed, we have a lot more detailed, I just talked about these things very briefly, but kind of the process you would is that if you say, hey, I'm going to start this business and I got this great name. It's going to be called Chuck's Old Times Chili and Saloon, okay, something like that. What I would do first is I would to the federal trademark website and I would check the name, right? Because what happens is that the federal trademarks are kind of control all the naming. So you check that thing. It's called a basic wordmark search. I'd have to look up. Yeah. So you go to the federal trademark website. You search to make sure it's unique. Once it is unique, that your name isn't being used, and then you can go and then you will then go to potentially to create your entity if it's an LLC. What will happen is that you will be required to put in that name, and if it's a duplicate, it'll let you know there. In fact, there's a session later with the folks from the business licensing and the Secretary of State who do the LLCs, and they can talk to it in extreme detail. But essentially, the state won't let you create a duplicate named entity. What are some resources for building that persistence discipline you mentioned? When you're one person starting alone, it can be very hard to stay focused. Yes, indeed. I've totally been there. Well, I would say is I really like that checklist, that small business essentials. It's kind of knock that, I'm going to do this section and I'm going to answer each one of these one at a time and just go down the list. As I mentioned before, we have online workshops. I don't want to be selling scores so much because we have a lot of great teams here at the Biz Fair team here, Greater Business Fair team. But our workshops go through those line item by line item. Okay. Any others? I think I'm all set. I don't have any other questions, and so guess we're almost at time. I got a few more minutes to hang on before they yank me off. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to say thank you very much. Appreciate everyone's attention. Thanks for coming to Biz Fair. Lots of other sessions coming up, a lot of terrific sessions coming up. And also stick around for the Small Business Gala, the online gala later tonight. I'll be there. And with that, thank you.